articles. You might want to see. So Mandiant, a really important company. 2 of my classes are based on the Mandiant training, the malware analysis and the instant response. Google Play has bought, or Google Cloud has bought it. And so I'm not sure what to make of this because the part they say that I don't really get is that Google Cloud is a pioneer in security. I've not noticed that. What I've noticed is Google Cloud being a sort of very weak imitator of Azure and Amazon, with many fewer features and no security features that I noticed. So that's the part that's strange. I can see why Google would buy Mandiant, but yes, that's the question. How long will Mandiant put up with GCP culture? That I don't know. Just I don't see any mesh between the 2 products, but anyway, we'll see. That's the part that surprises me, but I don't really know much about inside Google Cloud, for that matter, inside Google, really. Anyway, so RedBleed is another one of the speculative execution vulnerabilities. There have been a ton of these, starting with Spectre and Meltdown about 4 years ago. Intel processors do not simply execute instructions one at a time. They guess what the next 10 or 20 instructions are going to be and start processing them early. So if you had an if statement, a branch, it actually executes some of the statements on the other side of the branch before it figures out that the if condition is false and it shouldn't execute them. And therefore, by doing clever queries for the caches inside the processor, you can deduce what was done a few instructions past an if statement. And therefore, you can violate the security barriers, which are all if statements. So there's been a whole series of these attacks. There's never been a patch that's very good. All the patches are in firmware, and they slow down the things a lot. And the latest one, called RedBleed, costs 70% of the performance when they have a patch for it. So I know the major cloud services doubled the amount of RAM they gave you when they patched Heartbleed several years ago to get back to the same performance. So it really is a major performance hit to turn off the speculative execution or even patch the vulnerabilities that come from it. So this is an issue I've heard a few years ago. The U.S. military wanted to buy laptops without microphones and without cameras, and they could hardly find any for sale with this, but they didn't believe any software shutdown of those devices. Now the camera, you can just put tape over it, and that's a pretty good shutdown. You know it works, but there's nothing you can do to really be sure the microphone is off. And so these guys have built a device that picks up the wireless radio transmissions from the microphone. And apparently, the way most microphones work is by sending repetitive high-frequency probes to the microphone, which they can detect. But some microphones don't work that way, like Apple. They can't detect any radiation coming out of the Apple microphones. But anyway, that would be one way to make sure the microphone is really turned off. This is a lot of why people have to work in SCIFs. SCIFs have been getting a lot of attention because of Donald Trump's outrageous failure to keep the secure documents in a SCIF, but they also keep computers in a SCIF while doing, that if they have classified information on them, while doing forensic work on them. And that's the other way. You'd be inside a SCIF, completely, like a vault, a completely secured area surrounded by a Faraday cage to make sure that no signals are leaving. So Joshua Moon is, I think, the guy that runs Kiwi Farms, the hate site that amazingly inspired an incredible amount of hate and finally got shut down, although 4chan and 8chan lasted for years, and there was a huge struggle taking them down. But he took down all of his hosting, they took down all of his DDoS protection, and now they kicked him off Google Voice, so he can't get in any of his accounts because that was his second factor for authentication. This guy is being canceled real hard by almost all internet services. Hello, Yuri. So this looks pretty exciting. I've heard about, for many years, they've been saying we're going to get rid of passwords entirely. Passwords are no good. Well, apparently it's coming on iOS 16, which I don't think we can get yet, but maybe if you have the latest iPhone that just came for sale, you can get it pretty soon. But this thing will have a public private key encryption certificate on your phone, and you will log in by just responding to a prompt on your phone. And your phone, I think, can use something like biotechnology or biometrics to look at your face or something to verify it. So that's the point. You won't type in a password anywhere. You will just use your phone or one of your other devices that is synchronized with Apple's Keychain or Google Chrome password manager. So this sounds very good. Tonight you can download I'm on 13. Oh, you can download this version? 16? That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, the beta version is available.
Oh, you have to get the beta, yeah. Yeah, well, yeah, I think most people probably aren't anxious to put a beta on their phone because you're using your phone, but that would be an option. If you're going to do that, I would use a second burner phone. But anyway, that might be a good thing. Somewhere in iOS 16 you start using it. Of course, this means that all the websites you're logging into have to update to be compatible with it. So probably it won't really be commonly available till the end of the year or something. But if it offered you after 15.7 tonight, yep, okay, so you could get up to 16. Good, okay. Anyway, so that might be an exciting feature. This I thought was pretty funny. They make a big deal out of this crypto miner savaging Linux endpoints, and it's exactly just what you'd make with Metasploit. It is using Shikita Ganai, which is the Metasploit encryptor, and it is a Metasploit payload. So it's something you could totally learn how to do in 123. I'm surprised that this works anywhere. I guess this must mean these Linux boxes must have no anti-malware at all, because every anti-malware will pick up Metasploit payloads. All right. Anyway, what is this garbage? All right. So a lot of people are arguing about EVs. There was a warning, the Flex alert during the heat wave that you didn't want you charging your electric vehicle at certain times of night. But these people claim, and some people say we'll never be able to have the grid handle all the EVs. These people say it'll be fine because the EVs will have to be smart charging and charge all the low priority times of the grid when there's plenty of power, and then I think they can actually provide power at other times. That's one thing about electric vehicles, you can use them to provide power. So we'll see. It's possible that the EVs will add to the grid at peak time, which is what you need. Yeah, the books are all dense. I've picked out the easy parts to put in the lectures, but it's true. A lot of these books are hard to read. All right. So Russia is holding an election, and in order to make sure that Putin wins, he has much more vigorously than usual imprisoned all of his opponents and outlawed all the candidates to force him to win. And so they say the election is completely senseless, which it usually is. But of course, this is actually really important. I mean, I don't know what to I don't know what to make of it, but the Ukraine's advance seems to have greatly humiliated Putin, and even people are now beginning to speak up inside Russia and say Putin should resign. And I think 8 people have mysteriously fallen out of high windows already for saying anything against Putin so far. So you've got to be pretty determined to say anything against Putin. But anyway, so it's very interesting. I heard an analysis just 2 days ago from a billionaire who makes a podcast that said Russia's totally going to win because Europe can't put up with this lack of energy much longer. The energy prices in Germany have gone up to a factor of 10. There's no way they can make it through the winter. All Russia has to do is wait, and Europe will violate the blockade, and they'll win, but maybe Putin won't last that long. It does seem like both sides are running out of steam around the same time, so maybe Ukraine will win. And there's a new antiviral therapy that goes in your nose, a dose of nasal spray. There's been a few of these, and this one here will stop the particles from your nose, will stop your nose from getting infected, and that's what causes you to spread it to other people. So this is much better at preventing the spreading, which is one of the many very, very annoying things about the vaccine. It doesn't even stop you from spreading it. That's why you still have to wear masks and everything, and people still get it. So even though it lowers your chance of dying, it doesn't stop the disease from mutating and spreading, which has been a great disappointment to us all. So this stuff might be better, but it's not out there yet. Anyway, all right, so that's enough of the news.